Welcome to Old Stuff Show. Before we start today, I have a special request. I would like each of you to push your subscribe button, and that way you'll get a notification of the next shows that are coming up, and that would be very helpful. Today we have a very interesting show evolving around the word rare. Whenever you hear the word rare, people's ears perk up. They like something that they've never seen before or can't find. And so today we're looking at ephemera, which would be in the rarity category. Ephemera in my videos seems to be one of the most popular watched videos, and so this is part 3, and we're going to focus on things that you've probably never seen before and give you a little bit of insight into some of these rarities. I'm going to start off today with something that's really quite neat in terms of Canadian history. The national anthem of Canada is O Canada. It was proclaimed that in the late 1960s, and before that it was related to God Save the Queen or God Save the King, with close ties to England. But O Canada has been around for quite a long time, and the interesting part is that there were several versions of it. So when it became the official national anthem in the late 60s, they had to choose one, and they chose one that was not part of what I'm showing you here today. Robert Todd was a person who produced lyrics for O Canada, and obviously his version was not accepted. But along the way I met some of the family, and they donated some of his artifacts to me, and I have quite an interesting little collection of things that show how significant he was, but he was number 2. And I did send this material to National Archives, and again they seem to be more interested in number 1, not number 2, so we still have that in our possession. But if you look at this, we'll just give you a little insight here. The melody was done by C. Lavallee, Quebecer, and that's the melody that all the versions used in terms of lyrics. So here's one. It says right clearly at the top, written by Robert Todd. And his words are simply different. O Canada, our homeland strong and free, fair are thy lands that spread from sea to sea, and so on. But it's all there, and it's also there, typed by his own hands. This is the French lyrics that he had typed up to be used as part of the official song if it was ever to be used. And there's various pieces and parts in this collection that I have. This is just another version, the Robert Todd version of O Canada. So well known was it that in May of 1910, he got a letter from the Library of the Royal Colonial Institute requesting that O Canada, the national song, will be muchly appreciated as a donation to the library. The library is strictly a colonial and Indian one, and it is earnestly desired that it should be made as complete as possible. And so then on the right side, the acknowledgement of the receipt of having received it. And so he certainly was well known. I have a letter in my collection, not here today, but I have a letter where he remembers being in World War I in a tent close to the lines, and he heard people singing O Canada, and it was his version, and he was quite taken by that people actually knew the song and that they were singing the words that he had written. That letter also is certainly proof of the fact that this was, not an unknown aspect of Canadian history, but it was not the main one, and that's what we have to be aware of in today's world. In this collection too, I have this quite a large number of documents here. And these documents are all copyright certificates for Robert Todd and his music, sheet music in particular. This one was for December 1929. The song was Angela, Sister Angela. Most of us haven't heard of that one. And then there would be also these three-part letters where his check that was written, it cost him $3 to get a patent for his songs each. And then there's the letter of recognition of that, and then there's the certificate. This one called Broadway Tragedy. So there might be another 10 or 15 of these in my collection here. He was quite a prolific songwriter. A lot of it did show up in sheet music, form of sheet music, and lots of support. Here's even a registrar of copyright that sent him a library certificate, and then also the Library of Congress, kind of an interesting envelope. And what's interesting on that side there with the airplane, they're advertising the airplane as it saves time. Airmail saves time, and that's in 1929. All part of the evolution of technology in our society. But this is a collection that for someone, they might be interested in having it as music collectors. So anyone interested in purchase of that collection could message me through the comments, and I can get back to you somehow. And moving on, as far as unusual, certainly pennants. Some of these pennants were very popular in the 1950s especially, but there are some like this one that I don't think too many people know what it is, but I know it's possibly a military, could be a sporting team patch, Regina Garrison, but maybe some of you know out there, but again, I have not been able to locate anything. But a patch like this is certainly very rare and scarce because it's such a narrow topic. Similarly, going in the other direction in the country is the Fastball Champs 1953 Goose Bay Labrador Corporals Club. Again, it's a felt patch, and in a very remote area, and old enough that it's interesting and quite a narrow kind of topic. So sporting items like that certainly in patches are very interesting, and just the regular pennants, the felt pennants. When it's the felt material, it's usually 1950s or earlier. So this one, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, 5th Army. Doubt if there's many of those around, but certainly it can be for sale and likely will be on eBay at some point soon. This is also a felt pennant, and this would be NHL Montreal Canadiens, likely 1950s, in very good shape. Again, these are pretty scarce. They've been basically thrown away, which is the whole concept of ephemera, that material, those things that didn't last very long. Also, in terms of photographs and unknowns, this is kind of interesting. I'm familiar with the town of Goderich, Ontario, and this is a hockey team, 1915-1916, entitled the Iroquois Hockey Club, Goderich, Ontario. But anyone that I've talked to has never heard of the team, and certainly the sport of hockey, going back to 1915, 1916. And I have another one in 1914, 1915. The sport was in its infancy, and yet if I look at the equipment and the sticks and the skates and so on, it looks not too much different from today in many ways. But that's an official picture with names, and but I've never heard of it. I know that area very well. I know the teams of the past quite well, and I've just never been able to find any information about that particular team name. This is even earlier. This simply says it's a postcard, Godrich Hockey Club, 1905, and so that's really getting back both with postcards and with any kind of hockey, formal hockey team. And there it is, right on a picture. And this was 1911, 1912, Paris, Ontario Hockey Club. So Canadians who follow hockey, Americans who follow hockey, don't really think about hockey being that formal and that old, and yet here are pictures that show that it was very much alive and well, and again, I have not seen anything like that before, nor I doubt if there's many around. Also, in terms of that kind of thing, I believe I've mentioned this in other programs, but a lot of these photographs, but these would be older than the ones I just showed you, would have been developed from glass negatives. So this is this one's split in half, but I have some, and I have had the pictures developed from them. It's still possible to develop them, and if you ever see glass negatives, don't just pass them aside. You definitely can get good quality pictures from them. In the 50s, it was quite common for people to send away for autographs and to their favorite Hollywood stars. So Shelley Winters in that time, she would return a photograph like that. The problem with this one is that it's printed on, and even when they were written on, in terms of Hollywood, seemed to be a common practice for secretaries simply to sign the name. And this one printed on as well. This was Lee Molasses White, cowboy at the time. So autographs, they're kind of a tricky thing to deal with. You know, you have to be able to authenticate it, but sometimes that's just not possible. So you need to have a bit of a background understanding of where they came from. So one of the ways that I personally feel comfortable in knowing that the authenticity of the autographs are real from who I buy it. So I dealt with a gentleman one time who wrote away for most of his adult life for autographs, and got a whole bunch back. I bought some from him, and I saw some in his collection that had letters of authenticity and so on. So connecting that with the ones that I have, I feel pretty comfortable that these are authentic. So this is just out of a Time magazine, Sugar Ray Robinson at the bottom. It's a story about him, and Time magazine, signed Sugar Ray Robinson at the back, and December the 19th, 1955. So that was on eBay recently, and it got a bid almost immediately, as did this one, Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and both of them have signed it on a magazine article about them. So Abdul-Jabbar and Chamberlain. So I feel comfortable that those are authentic. But I do know that this one, for example, which is Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson, when I bought it from a gentleman, he told me that this was a photocopy of the real thing. So it's nice looking, but the autographs are duplicates. So autographs, you know, you get into a little bit of challenge in terms of knowing where they came from and how authentic they are. This is just an odds and ends thing here. From time to time I get envelopes with metered postage, but what's interesting is are the logos of the company or the company name on the top left, and I've had all kinds of really interesting old companies that show up in these. This is the Corning Glass Works, Corning, New York. This is the Blenheim Steel Corporation. That's Borden's. Recognize the logo even from today. So there's people, stamp collectors, looking for these. Not so much for the stamp, although I know a man who just collects metered stamps, but often just for the advertising. This is a receipt from a cemetery in Toronto dated 1929, and again goes back to Robert Todd. That's his signature, and he bought a plot in the Necropolis Cemetery in Toronto in 1829, and he paid $125 for the granite monument, which I guess would be a fair amount of money in those days. And then there's the second one that he paid $105 for. Sometimes too, this is simply a photocopy, but another very popular collectible are certificates of discharge, military certificates of discharge. And that one is dated 1884, which is getting back there, so to a J.H. Gilmore in Toronto. He was 24 years old, discharged in 1884. When you come upon things that nobody else has, or that's, you know, one of a kind, very unusual, very hard to get, that's the kind of ephemera that I personally really enjoy finding. And preserving this is a key thing too. You know, they have to be put in special kinds of non-acid sleeves and out of light, out of air, to keep them as good as they were when you got them. So you have to be careful with that as well. Well, I hope you learned a little bit today. Ephemera is, like I said, one of the more popular topics, it seems, and there's lots of paper types of ephemera out there that is so big and so wide that you have to narrow it down to something that you're particularly interested in, and there's all kinds of people out there that are collecting their little niche of ephemera wherever they can get it. So just remember that we have a new video each Friday, and subscribe, and also know that a lot of this stuff gets on my eBay site, and that will be mentioned at the end of the video. And also I'm at Aberfoyle Flea Market this summer of 2020. It's open, it's safe, and booth 38, 39, 40. I've already talked to some people that have been there as a result of this program, so I'd like to see you, say hello, and maybe I can help you find some things there. Happy hunting. Thanks for watching.